Okay, so I was watching a video today by Dr. Jordan Peterson, one of my favorites, and it was relating to the Lindsay Shepherd incident. And towards the end of his video, he was showing this clip from some sort of Canadian TV show or something, one that he had actually been on. And that's really where that TV show was the clip that the Lindsay Shepherd incident had started from. Not that clip, I'm sorry. Dr. Jordan Peterson had been on that TV show, and the clip from that TV show was the Lindsay Shepherd thing. Anyway, so it was this weird situation where, Lindsay Shepherd's being bullied by the administration for not for violating C-16 or something like that, but it was like on national TV, so I don't get that at all. Anyway, but towards the end of it, there was another clip from the same TV show, and they were discussing the whole Lindsay Shepherd incident, and this black guy comes on with his French accent, fucking privileged ass Western bastard, who doesn't understand real suffering if it came up and bit him in the ass. And he starts talking about how these white girls think that they can just run, the classrooms however the fuck they want, and because he's black, he doesn't get any respect, and he just continuously went more racist and more racist and more racist. And it was just like, oh my god, are you fucking kidding me right now? Oh my god. Anyway, another thing that this idiot said, though, which is really what I wanted to talk about, is he asserted that there is no biological sex. This is just fundamentally retarded. And it's wrong. More than being retarded, it's just wrong. So, and I'm thinking about this, I'm like, how do you argue this with one of these people who doesn't understand the reality of biological sex? And so I go, well, okay, what is the function? Why do we have two different genders? What is the purpose? The answer is baby making. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a really simple sort of argument that you can make against these people who say that biological sex is not real. And it's one of the most retarded things I've ever heard in my life. And the argument is simple. You need to have a vagina and you need to have a penis to make a baby. That's it. That's the whole thing. You can get way more specific than that. You can go into sperm and ovaries and go into how the fertilization process happens and how the prostate provides nutrients and a base for the sperm so that the acidity of the vagina doesn't completely destroy the sperm, so the sperm actually has a chance of making it to that prized egg inside the woman's womb. Now, how the fuck do you get babies if there's no biological sex? Like, it just can't happen. And that's what I don't understand about these people. It's like, you want to reject reality completely. And this guy, he wanted to unpack biological sex or whatever, but he wasn't going to because it would have taken too long. Yeah, what that really means is, I don't have a good argument, but I'm going to throw out this statement and assume that you guys, some of you will just believe it because I say it and I'm a professor. I don't know why Canada's letting such a racist idiot on their TVs and whatnot, but rejecting such a fundamental truth as mommies and daddies, like, what is wrong with these people? Like, how do they think that they are the enlightened ones when they reject a simple reality like mommies and daddies make babies, and that's why there's two different sexes aka genders. You have to have eggs and sperm. You can't have just eggs, you can't have just sperm. Like, there's no creative force in just one. And if you fuck up the whole, like, ratio of things, like for instance, transgendered people, like, if you start to transition a kid too early, you can sterilize them by blocking their puberty and stuff. And that's not a good thing. And I think that's one of the harmful effects of transgenderism, is that people sterilize themselves. And I think, this whole argument about biological sex not existing, to me almost is so worrisome that there's people out there who actually believe this. But I think it's just another fundamental attack against the family. And I mean this in a really legitimate way, because it's like, you have to fundamentally reject the concept of mommies and daddies in order to accept the concept of non-binary, gender fluid, and the concept that biological sex doesn't exist. You have to reject the family. You have to reject the biological binary that exists, regardless of whether or not you want it to. The binary exists. It simply does. You cannot avoid the binary, and you cannot create without the binary. And the binary is the fundamental building block of the family. This is why marriage is so important. And you can bring it into so many different aspects of why these idiots are fucking wrong in the way that they view reality. But it goes fundamentally to the basis of family. And the basis of family is you have a mommy, you have a daddy, one is a girl, one is a boy. And fundamentally, statistically speaking, women and men have different roles in a child's life. A mother has breast milk. The mother's going to be the one who nurtures and cuddles and feeds the child, because that's what's natural. That is the natural order of things. The father is the one who's going to go out hunting and exploring and getting and gathering, resources and wealth. And why does that matter? Why is that important? Because that's what's the most effective way to raise a child. It just is. The daddy doesn't have fucking breast milk. I'm sorry. That's just not biologically reality. And it's not biological reality to say that there's no such thing as biological sex when you have to have male and female in order to have sexual reproduction. And as far as I know, we haven't figured out the whole cloning thing yet. So, get back to me when we start talking about that. But I'm not going to acknowledge any other gender besides male and female, while we're still clearly a binary species that sexually reproduces through the binary. There is literally no way to creatively create a human being that is not through the binary of male and female. It's just not possible. And this is why I just cannot buy into all this transgenderism and gender non-binary and gender fluid and gender queer and gender bender and all these fucking made up words that they just doesn't mean anything. Look, I can express what I'm trying to say with the word with hand signals. Let me set my phone up in the proper position to effectively show you this. Okay? I don't have to use words for this. This is such a basic concept to understand that I do not have to use words to explain this fully, okay? Put that there. If I can get it to stay. So very clearly, No baby. No baby. Baby. Basic shape. Basic shape. That's how babies are made. That's why there's the gender binary. That's why there is the sexual binary. It's because it's fucking necessary for human reproduction at this point. Whether or not you believe in evolution or whatever it is, scientifically, you have to have male and female to get baby. And maybe the reason why these people are so out of touch with reality is because they don't like babies. They kill their babies. They abort their babies. They argue for pro-abortion beliefs and stuff like that. It's not even pro-choice with some of these people. Some of these people are purely pro-abortion. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrifying. I personally would never get one. Because I think it's the most destructive thing that you could probably do to society is to kill your own children. And it is depressing to me that there has been so many women fooled into doing it. As if it's going to somehow save their life. As if it's somehow going to make their life so that it's not destroyed by the baby. And what it really boils down to is people need to understand reality so that they can take responsibility for their actions. All these people who want to say that the gender binary doesn't exist or that the biological sex isn't real, what you're doing is you're breeding disinformation about reality and about the world, and you're gonna mislead people into thinking the wrong things about reality. And so you're gonna have some little girl come along who says she's a boy, and she's gonna have sex with some real boy, get pregnant, and not know how the fuck it happened because she was told that biological sex isn't real and that she's, you know, a non-binary fairy or something like that. Like, no, people need to know the reality of the world. They need to know what they're getting into, and they need to know what the truth is. And the truth is that there is a biological sex, and it's really, really important to understand that, because it is a fundamental reality of our world. And there's just no other way around it. I mean, where do babies come from? This is fundamental. I learned this when I was 5. Mommies and daddies have sex, and then babies are made. Like, this is so fundamental to the bare basics of reality. And my only hope is, with these people, is that they just won't fucking reproduce. I'm hoping to hell they don't reproduce, and maybe in 30 years we'll just have to deal with some old batshit crazy fuckers who have decided not to reproduce, which would be really good for society if they don't reproduce. Don't try to spread these stupid, retarded ideas that make no sense in any sort of realistic, scientific, reality sort of sense. And mind you, I am not the most reality-based, not the most scientifically based person in the entire world. But I see science as a very significant tool. And I am not a person who will reject reality when it is thrown in my fucking face. Okay? There's a certain point where you just go, okay, I can say I'm spiritual all day. I can praise Jesus and God all day fucking long. But at a certain point, you gotta go, okay, but I have evidence to contradict what I thought was real. And God wants me to know what's real and what's not real. And, you know, this is my spirituality coming out. That's the side of me that's spiritual. And that side of me goes, what the fuck are you people doing too? It's like, every single side of me goes, why are you trying to fuck with the natural order of things? And the thing is they can't even back it up with the material side of it. They can try to adjust how you look. They can change. It's all superficial, though. And all you're doing is poisoning your body and destroying what was naturally made and what should be left alone. If you were put in the wrong body, at birth, maybe that's your cross to bear. And I know that is a hard concept for some people to understand. But us being able to outgrow our original programming, to grow beyond ourselves, to not reject reality, but to use reality as a structure on which we build ourselves and build ourselves up to be more than what we are. And to be more than what we are, to build ourselves spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever you want to become. You want to call it like psychic energy or whatever the fetch it is. I call it like, I don't know. Chi is, I suppose, a word that you could use for it. Some more spiritually minded people might call it the source. Some others would call it God. But fundamentally, you have to understand the basic concepts of reality. Regardless of where you want to get in life, regardless if you're a materialistic person, if you are a spiritual person, if you're a mixture of the two like I am. I like money. I like things. I also like the concept of not having to ever need money or things again and existing in a purely spiritual state. I like both of those concepts, like both have their appeals, and but either way, you have to start from a position of reality. You cannot reject reality. If you're a spiritual person and you're presented with evidence that rejects what you thought, you need to reassess your faith, or at least the direction of your faith. And the thing is that I'm a Christian, but I firmly believe in not deceiving people. And some of the ways that Christianity has been used in the past has been for evil means. And it's been twisted. And it's been corrupted. And that is a significant problem. And so you have to start. Sometimes you have to start over with just the basics. And one of the basics is mommies and daddies exist. And you see this all throughout the Bible. The whole story of Christmas, especially the way that the Americans play it out, the rituals and the imagery and everything related to Christmas is all about the family. You have Christ being born. He is that miracle child that was born, completely sinless. And if you think of a family union, any sort of basic, healthy family union, mommy and daddy, they're going to regard their first child as a miracle child, regardless of what that child is, who that child is, what that child looks like, or how that child acts. If you got a good mommy and daddy right there, and I've seen this with my own family, like that first kid that comes out, that is so exciting. That is one of the most exciting things that I think I've ever experienced is the day that my niece was born. And, you see the family played out over and over and over again in the Bible, and it is one of the most important things. And so, mommies and daddies, they have to provide, a safe space initially for their child to grow, but once it's got roots, then they gotta fucking, push it out of the nest and be like, get the fuck out of here. You need to start being independent and take care of yourself. And there's a lot of growth and a lot of guidance that goes into that. And that's what the Bible is about. Through and through. About family, about faith, about determination, about persistence, about principles by which to live, and realities that the world is based on. And I don't know what the end goal is for these other people, though. You know, I have an end goal. My end goal is, let's make the world more stable. Let's make the world better for the children of tomorrow. Let's make it so that there's less pedophiles in the world. Make it so that there's just less malevolence in general, less evil, you know? Like, that's my end goal. My end goal is just to make things better for the future generation so that they don't have to experience the same suffering that we did. You know, they'll still experience suffering because there's still evil in the world, and I don't think that I personally can get rid of all evil. You know, that's something that would have to be a vastly collective effort on the efforts of humanity. And even then, you'd still have just the natural slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, which would be, you get strokes, you have heart attacks, you get old, you die, you just wear out, your body aches, you got pain. Anyway, point is, you gotta start with from the position of reality. And I think one of the reasons people don't like the Bible so much is A, they've not read it, and B, it smacks too much with reality. And not only that, but you have to read it. You have to understand it in its full context. Because you can read, like, for instance, the book of Judges, and it's, to me, the book of Judges, at least from what I've read of it and studied of it, so, which is not a ton of it, but I think that's the book that Samson is in, for instance, and I don't really see much redeeming about Samson. I really don't. He's kind of a stupid leader. And yet, this was the guy who was, leading things at the time. He was the strongest, the most dominant, So, the Bible is like this book that is like, okay, we're gonna keep a record of all of our fucking mistakes so we don't fucking do that again. I think that's why the Jewish people ended up being so successful. Yep, I'm really running out of steam. I hope you guys have enjoyed my rambling, but it just still baffles me that there's people out there who just reject reality. And even if you're not a Christian, I don't give a fuck about that, like what you call yourself. What I do want from people is for people not to reject reality, and because, like I said, whatever you want to accomplish, whether it's spiritual or physical, rejecting reality is the worst way that you're gonna get there. You can't build a building if you think that you can fly before building an airplane or something like that. Like you just cannot reject the reality of, like, gravity and expect to be able to engineer a massive space station or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta have the grasp. You gotta have the grasp on the structure before you can, grow your dreams out of it. So, there you go. I hope there's some nugget of wisdom in there. I have no fucking clue. At this point, I feel like I talk to myself a lot, and sometimes I feel like the ideas should be shared, because I feel like what I get out of my conversations with myself can be really important. And I think more people should have conversations with themselves. Now, it's scary when you start responding to yourself, but you just gotta keep things integrated. You just gotta make sure you don't like let it overtake you. Beat it back into line. You know what I mean, right? I'm not insane, am I?